Why do the people you sacrifice the most for respect you the least? Why is it that the moment you forgive someone, they immediately push you again? Why does being the most understanding person in the room somehow make you the easiest one to ignore? You have felt this. The loyalty that went nowhere, the kindness that got mistaken for weakness, the slow, quiet realization that the softer you became, the harder people pushed. Friedrich Nietzsche saw this coming, not as a sad observation about human behavior, as a law operating underneath every friendship, every relationship, every social circle you have ever been part of. He did not write to make you feel better. He wrote to tell you the truth, and the truth, once you hear it, cannot be unheard. Stay until the end, because the final principle will permanently change the way you see every person in your life. Most people think the problem is that the world is full of bad people. That is not the problem. The problem is what you were taught to believe about yourself. You were told that kindness is always noble, that patience is always strength, that putting other people first, no matter what, is the highest thing a person can be. Nietzsche called this the great inversion, and here is what he meant. Think about it. The people who could not compete, who could not lead, could not command, could not hold their own in the real social world, needed a different way to feel superior. So they reframed weakness as virtue. They called their inability to say no generosity. They called their fear of conflict peace. They called their need for approval humility. And suddenly, being powerless had a name that sounded holy. It is brutal, but it is human. And if you have spent your life being told that shrinking yourself is the right thing to do, Nietzsche would tell you that you have been handed someone else's story about who you should be. Now here is the part most people completely misunderstand about Nietzsche. He talked about the will to power, and everyone assumes that means dominating people, crushing whoever gets in your way. That is not what he meant, not even close. The will to power is simply this: the drive to become more fully yourself, to stop apologizing for taking up space, to stop performing a version of yourself that makes everyone else comfortable while quietly destroying you. Most people never realize this. The person who is excessively kind, who constantly makes themselves smaller so others can feel bigger, is not living in peace. They are at war with themselves, and that war does not stay quiet forever. It turns into something Nietzsche had a specific word for. He called it ressentiment, not just resentment, something darker. Here is what it feels like from the inside. You smile instead of saying what you really think. You forgive before you have actually processed anything. You give and give and give, and tell yourself it is because you are a good person. But underneath that, quietly, privately, something is rotting. A bitterness you cannot even admit to yourself, because admitting it would mean admitting that all that giving was never really free. It is brutal, but it is human. Nietzsche said this internal corrosion is more dangerous than any external enemy, because you can face an enemy who stands in front of you. The enemy you smile at every single day, you cannot. Now here is the mechanism that nobody talks about clearly enough. When you are unconditionally kind, you remove the cost of treating you badly. Think about it. Humans are calculating creatures, not always on purpose, but always. If pushing your limits costs nothing, the behavior continues. If taking more than they give costs nothing, it continues. If disrespecting you, quietly, slowly, in small ways, costs nothing, it continues. And it escalates. No cost, no consequence, no respect. And this is where it gets interesting. Most kind people believe that if they just give more, eventually people will appreciate it more. Nietzsche understood the exact opposite. Unconditional kindness signals, to the part of every human brain that is still animal, that there is no teeth behind the smile. And instinctively, without even thinking about it, people relax their respect for something that cannot push back. Here is the one that really hurts. The person who builds their whole identity around being needed, around being the one who always shows up, the one who never says no, the one who holds everything together while quietly falling apart. Nietzsche called this the morality of pity, and it is one of the most exhausting traps a person can fall into. Here is why. You believe that making yourself indispensable, through service, through being available, through giving endlessly, creates deep connection. It does not. It creates expectation. And expectation replaces gratitude faster than you think. The day you fail to deliver, the day you need something back, the response is not compassion. It is confusion, sometimes frustration, because you broke a contract they never even knew they had made with you. Imagine this. You have given someone years of loyalty. You have defended them, forgiven them, showed up every single time. And the one time you need them, really need them, They are not there, and somehow, in their mind, you are the one who let them down. That is ressentiment meeting someone else's entitlement, and it is more common than most people are willing to admit. Now here is the part that Nietzsche was most ruthless about. A lot of people who perform kindness are not actually kind. They are scared. The smile that never says no is not generosity. It is anxiety about what happens if you do say no. The constant forgiveness is not spiritual strength. It is conflict avoidance dressed up in moral language. The agreement with everyone in the room is not open-mindedness. It is the fear of being disliked wearing the mask of flexibility. Most people never realize this. Nietzsche had no patience for it. Not because he lacked compassion, because he understood that performing virtue from fear never actually builds character. You do not become strong by pretending to be brave. The pretending is not the thing. The thing is facing yourself honestly. And most people spend their whole lives running from that. Every social group you have ever been part of, every friendship, every family, every workplace, runs on an invisible structure. Not money, not status. Psychological strength. The person with the clearest sense of who they are, the one whose yes means yes and whose no means no, holds the strongest position. Not because they dominate anyone, because they are consistent, because there is no gap between what they say and what they do. And the person whose limits are always negotiable, whose kindness is always available, sends a different signal. It communicates, without words, that they can be moved. And the people around them move them. Every time. Here is what Nietzsche actually left you with. Not cruelty. Not coldness. A completely different way of living. 4 things. Apply them now. First, let your kindness cost something. Kindness handed to everyone freely is worth nothing. Give it to the people who have shown they can receive it without taking advantage of it. Make your generosity rare. Make it matter. Second, get comfortable with being disliked by the wrong people. The need for everyone to approve of you is the thing that controls you. The person who can genuinely be disliked by certain people and be completely fine is finally free. Some disapproval is not a warning sign. It is a sign you're doing something right. Third, stop over-explaining your limits. The moment you feel the need to justify why you said no, you are still asking for permission to have limits. You do not owe anyone a lengthy explanation. No is a full sentence. Start treating it like one. Fourth, look clearly at who benefits when you stay small, not to become paranoid. To become honest. Nietzsche asked the most uncomfortable question. Who thrives when you disappear? Find them. Understand that your growth will require their discomfort. Choose your growth anyway. Here is the final thing. Kindness is not the problem. Kindness from fear, kindness from the desperate need to be accepted, kindness as a performance you put on because you do not believe you are enough without it, that is the problem. The strongest version of you does not give endlessly to prove your worth. It gives selectively, from a place of actual choice, to the people who have earned it. The world does not remember the most agreeable person in the room. It remembers the most grounded. The one whose presence communicated, without anger, without cruelty, without raising their voice. That this particular person cannot be pushed around. That is the person Nietzsche was writing for. The question is whether you are ready to become them. If you want to keep understanding how human nature actually works, not the comfortable version, subscribe now. Because the people who understand these things are not the loudest in the room. They are simply the ones who never needed to be.